Today's session, and if you look at your notes, is about cloud technology, and certainly that's a big part of what I'm going to cover, cloud technology. It's a very emerging trend, it's a very emerging technology, it's very powerful what it can deliver us today, and certainly what I'm going to touch on towards the end is kind of where this could go further. So I'm going to touch a lot on cloud technology, but to us in the Reckon Group, cloud is a technology. So a technology is an enabler. It's not a trend in itself. Now there's so much buzz around cloud that it's been called a trend, and in fact we fall into that and call it a trend ourselves. But actually there's other trends that are going on. There's other reason for change, and there's other dynamics that are at play here, and certainly this one, this compliance pressures, is a big one. And another one where cloud can go is big data. So in fact, I just want 3 words. Rather than cloud, I want you to walk away from this session with 3 words. I really want you to think about that there is change, there is choice, and that life is all about connections. So don't believe that technology can replace that connection that you have with your clients and that you have with your business partners and people like the IPA. That's what it's all about. And in fact, for us, when we keep working on this presentation and doing different iterations, I think they kind of flow in quite well in terms of, yes, there's change, and I'm going to talk a lot about change in a second and some of the big world changes that we've seen right down into cloud technology. But if we look at the why, it starts from that theory about compliance pressure. Now, you might have heard this coined as the squeeze on compliance. You may have even heard or been told that if you don't change your practice from a compliance practice today, you won't be there in the future. I'm not such an extremist, personally. I think that is too strong. I don't know who it was who said it yesterday, and I'm not going to say it the same way, but we all drive cars, but we don't all have the ability to improve and enhance our cars that we drive. It's the exact same for taxes we pay, for our financial planning, for our investments, for running our business. So in the accounting profession, and as business advisors, I know I need, and me in a business capacity, need someone to help me tweak, enhance, improve my business. Now the only way you're going to be able to do that is to know my business. The only way you're going to be able to do that is to do the compliance work. So whilst I might be disagreeing with a lot of pundits out there, compliance isn't going, it's about how we improve compliance. Why? And improve that compliance process. And why do you want to do that? Goes back to my last C word, connection. I've been working at APS for 14 years, as the very kind introduction mentioned. And yes, I was one of the first 6 employees, and 14 years seems like a long time. And I go, wow, I've seen a lot of change in 14 years in the accounting profession. But I also don't believe we've ever had the amount of choice and change at our fingertips today, that we've got today. I don't think we've ever had that before. But I also know in speaking with you and speaking with our clients that it's the same cause. Because I tell you, 14 years ago when I went into a practice and spoke to someone about what is it you're trying to do, it was the same words. I want to provide more value to my clients. I would love to streamline these processes that we've got in our practice so I can work on more value-added services, so I can give more to my clients. The other thing in compliance pressures, and you'll see this theme coming up in a couple of ways today, but the other thing in compliance pressures is this concept of outsourcing. Now, I'm not for or against outsourcing, but outsourcing has also come about by the fact of what I was just talking about. I want to provide my clients more value. So one way of potentially doing that is doing the grunt work or some compliance work or some processing work faster, maybe or even just at less cost. So for the same value or the same charge to my client, I can give them more return. So from our perspective, whilst this is very much a cloud session, I'm going to touch on cloud technologies. It's all about change, and it's all about the same reasons and same source that started these discussions. And big data is where we'll end. In terms of the Reckon Group, and as I said, we're very proud to be here sponsoring, and I did confuse Andrew just before he got up to introduce me in terms of my multiple titles. Look, the reality, I've grown up within the APS business. We've been owned completely by Reckon for well over 10 years. And a lot of people don't know, in my view, the full Reckon picture. So within Reckon, I'll try and simplify it and just try to give some credibility to the content we're talking about. Our focus is pretty simple. We do business software for accountants, and we do accounting software for business. And in that regard, we've got a whole range of brands or products underneath that. So APS, if you're in practice, Reckon Elite, Reckon Docs, and then there's other products like Virtual Cabinet, Document Management, etc. And in the business section, obviously formerly QuickBooks with our distribution of the Intuit product, now just renamed to Reckon Accounts Hosted, and Reckon One. And underneath all of those Reckon companies and brands, we work with 3 of the top 4 accounting firms in Australia. 42 of the top 50 accounting practices in Australia run Reckon APS products. And over 2,500 public accountants run Reckon products. And at the same time, and in one presentation we put up a slide that said in terms of our business side, we've got more clients using Reckon Accounts than people live in Tasmania. So there's 600,000 people using Reckon Accounts today in Australia. It's 512,000 the population of Tasmania. This is our focus. And I mentioned choice. We still are providing choice. Of all of those clients, whilst cloud is being spoken about, I can tell you of all of those clients of business and accountants, 99% of them today are using a desktop product. I'm not going to say we're not pumped about the cloud and we don't have cloud solutions. We absolutely do. But 99% of our clients are still using desktop products. A number have gone into cloud in a hosted environment, and I'm going to talk about the different cloud versions. And so we're not saying it's all or nothing. In fact, we're about choice. That's what this design by you stands for, is that other C word is choice, in the fact that we want all of our clients to take our products and say, this is the right outcome for me. I'll give you another example. Boyce Chartered Accountants. They're a rural practice in New South Wales. Some of you may or may not have come across them. 5 offices, about 150 staff. They're quite a big practice in country New South Wales. I met with them only on Tuesday this week. They're already an existing Reckon APS client. And we were talking about some new solutions. And there's 2 options. One, they could use some cloud solutions or desktop solutions. Because of the national broadband rollout, and even because of some recent changes to that national broadband rollout, Boyce have said that there is no short-term or medium-term way we can take our practice into the cloud or our clients' data into the cloud because of the risk of connectivity. Now that might be different if you're in Sydney CBD or Brisbane CBD and the connect. So that's why it's all about choice. So that's a bit about Reckon and all of our clients that you can see. So it's not just from an accountant's perspective, and it's not just from a business perspective, and it's not just from cloud software. We're trying to bring all of this together. So as I say, I agree with Kevin Osborne. I want to just start right at this high level. The world is changing. So what's one way we can look at the world is changing? Population growth. There's an explosion of population growth. In fact, the NAB guy mentioned it yesterday. We're now over 23 million people in Australia. I think he said his age is 47. He said that our population has doubled in his 47 years. I wonder how long it's now going to take to double again. Because it just grows and grows and grows. So world population is exploding. And then you go, well, what's this got to do with trends and software, etc.? First of all, there's a lot of people for us all to do business with. Also, with that explosion of population, there's some amazing statistics out there. Do you know there's more honours students in India than there are children in America? More honours students in India than there are children in America. Again, you go, well, what does this mean? We're sitting in beautiful Sanctuary Cove, we're going to go and have a swim. Why do you think outsourcing is kicked off? Because there are so highly qualified people in emerging countries that can be utilised, and they are super qualified, utilised in a cheaper rate than paying someone in Brisbane CBD to do the work. So population growth is having a massive effect on all of our businesses, and we can't forget that. With population growth comes generational change. I think this is really cool as well. And from everything I've read, baby boomers was the first generation that we've labelled and characterised. Just by looking around, I bet there's a lot of baby boomers in here. I think in Australia we've characterised another generation before that, and that's the grey nomads. But I think that's just our nickname for everyone travelling around the country, and like my mum travelling around in the caravan. Then we've got Gen X, then we've got Gen Ys, and now they're talking about Gen Z or the Millennium generation. Think about this generational change. Baby boomers, if you were born in 1946, just grew up just after a war, the end of a massive war, a war that was still fought on the ground, not over computers. The other thing is, whether you had a TV, I guarantee you didn't walk around with a mobile phone in your pocket. I'm a Gen X, right? So I come in the Gen Xers. We're kind of the middle. These two are the biggest ones. Gen Xers are in the middle. I travelled overseas, well, two stories. One, at school, I had to elect to do computing studies. So it wasn't a given. We didn't all have laptops. I had to elect to do computing studies and go to the computer room. When I travelled overseas after matric, I wrote handwritten letters that I've still got to my friends. Not just my parents. I wrote a handwritten letter to my friends. The world is changing. It's changing rapidly, and generations are going through it. And we all kicked off this generational study because of Gen Ys, because we said they're different. And if you think about your kids now, so I've got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, they know nothing else than growing up in an environment of certainly laptops in the house, smartphones, iPads, and it's second nature to them. My son started kindy this year. They've got a smart board that's a touch screen. It's like a computer. He honestly uses my laptop and constantly whacks the screen. So it's changing. So what we need to be conscious of, and I know everyone's sometimes can be embarrassed by age, but it's quite a big bracket. But let's just get a show of hands. So who are the baby boomers in the room? I'll put mine in. So to me, let's see. Who are the Gen Xers in the room? Okay, so I'd go that's 50-50. Gen Ys? Yeah, a couple. And I'm assuming no one's brought their children in. Yeah. Honestly, we did this at Melbourne. We did this in Melbourne. Just as I was saying that, someone did sneak in with their baby. So it was a bit funny. Have a look at that. 50% of this room, baby boomers, Gen X. Just think about this stuff, because baby boomers are going to move into retirement or own majority of businesses in Australia and probably around the world, but certainly Australia and New Zealand. Most businesses, accounting practices, small businesses, owned and managed by baby boomers. You've got Gen X and Gen Ys coming through. And why this is so important is a Gen Y does not want a business that isn't technology up to date. A Gen Y isn't going to go and manage, run, buy, take over, or lead a business that is not using the latest technology, be that cloud or be that something else. So we've got massive change in that regard. Then there's technology change. 300 billion emails are sent every day worldwide. I counted, I think 80% of those come to me. 3.2 billion likes. So in a technology space, we're all online, we're sending emails, massive amount of technology, likes, commenting, Twitter running around the IPA event, and then look at the hardware explosion. And I think this is the really important thing to watch. That over 400,000 iPhones are sold every day. That's iPhones, not smartphones. And I'm personally an iPhone user, but I don't mind. But the talk is that the smartphones are going to overtake iPhones. In Australia, we are massively Apple fans, which is interesting. In the world, they're not as big as in Australia, but 400,000 iPhones sold every day. 70% of Australian homes will have a tablet by 2017. I personally think that that's going to change and change rapidly. I think it'll be more than that even by 2017. So the devices that we're walking around with that are more powerful than computers, certainly that we grew up with, or computers that we had a little while ago, means that business is changing. When you think about your clients, so you can see where this is all leading. So business is becoming faster and faster and faster. I think if you think about the more interaction, I'm interested in this. I'll give you an example. Go to a petrol station and pay with a Visa PayWave. Just play this in your mind. So you go and pay with a Visa PayWave. I love it. You just tap and you go. Done. Right, that's updated my bank. If you were using a cloud product like Reckon One, but don't get me wrong, you could use Xero. You could use an MYB cloud product. If you're using a cloud product with bank feeds, that's automatically updated into my cloud product. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a cloud product. If you've got bank feeds, it's pushed into my accounting system. Then if my accountant's logging onto the same product, my accountant's just seen that, all from a tap. It's gone to my bank, obviously, and my accountant might choose to lodge from that system. So business is happening faster and faster and faster because of technology and this technology growth. Other trends, I think it's a good one, the remote workforce is growing. One, that's a bit generational. People wanting variety, people wanting flexibility. Also, with a booming population, it means we've got a lot of qualified, very experienced, very powerful mums at home that need flexible, or if we provide flexible work environments and flexible technology, we actually get the benefit of their expertise back into the business community. Then to the accounting profession. So if this is all happening, of course your clients come to you when things are happening so fast and say, well, I don't want to pay you anymore to key in data, to manually update a trial balance. They are touching technology that's showing them how fast information can move, and they're now challenging, so your consumers, your clients are challenging the accounting profession to say, well, I want more for less. The government is also saying, hey, there's all this technology out there. We want to interact with you more. We want to get access to that. Now, again, that's going to be an interesting play over time, because on one hand, you say, wow, that could be very, very efficient for the government to get that kind of interaction. And on the other hand, some people say, I don't know if I want the government to have that much access that fast. I want to have an in-between. So that'll be interesting, because technology can allow that to happen, and then it will be up to the community to respond to say whether we appreciate that. And as was said in the panel session, I think it was Kevin who said it, great encouragement to make sure you contribute to these discussions, make sure you contribute to member bodies like the IPA or to your local government. And then these bottom two. So data integration, I would say, is an old trend or enabler of improvement, because that's where we started. Certainly in the APS world, what we said is that if people are trying to provide more value for your clients and do things faster, then you need data integration. Bank feeds is one thing. What about when that comes into your practice and all of a sudden I've got Sam Allert and I want to do his super fund? I don't want to have to rekey his name. What about when Sam Allert, as a director of Reckon, changes his address? I don't want to have to go into another system to key that in. In fact, if I do that, I'll often forget that, and then there'll be late fees from ASIC. So integration has been a big driving point behind all of the Reckon products to say there's this squeeze on compliance, but actually what we're looking for is we're looking for efficiencies in process. So choice, think about all of your systems and think about the integration that's happening within those systems. Because I think data integration, here's something, I'll just pose the question, I hope it doesn't come too much as a statement, but if you are looking at outsourcing, then you need to have very good systems and processes in place to be able to outsource. Because outsourcing is just someone working on your stuff, not in your office. If you're going to improve your systems and processes that much, have a look at the efficiency gains you'll get just from that. And you might not need to outsource. So data integration's a big one. Then spawned this concept of single ledger. And what happened is we actually said, and I believe the accounting profession and the technology providers said, well, in actual fact, we could solve this if we all just had the one ledger. And that is cool. What a great concept. However, I believe it's a fallacy. You can't solve this by saying, well, if we all just got on and did this and used this one tool, because if you think today from which dominates is MYOB, the next one would be the Reckon product, QuickBooks or Reckon Accounts, and then you have a myriad of other solutions that your clients might use, be it Attaché, Phoenix for the rural practices, BankLink, Xero, obviously, SASU, Intuit coming into this market, Microsoft Dynamics, so there's some big players, SAP, Oracle. Accounting software and business software, whether you're a car manufacturer or a delicatessen or a fish shop owner or a boat dealer, there's specific tools for those industries. And as accountants and business advisors, we can't collectively say, we've got a compliance issue, so in fact we're going to solve it by going to the business community and saying, you'll just get on the one tool and that's going to make our compliance process an issue go away and we'll be able to give you more value. What we've got to do is say, yes, we've got this compliance issue pressure, and how do we streamline that? How do we improve that process? And that's where I'm going to touch on technology to highlight a couple of these things. So we've spoken about those trends, and time permitting, I'll come back to them. So some cloud solutions, reckon one. I'll try and give you a brief overview of cloud. Cloud technology is any software, application or data that you access outside of your office via the web. That's cloud. And there's two main types, and there's probably heaps of detail in behind each. There's two main types. There's SaaS, which is software as a service, and IaaS, so infrastructure as a service. The difference, the way I can explain it, SaaS, so the Reckon one product, Xero, SASU, those kind of products are SaaS. You go to a web page, you put in a login detail, you register very quickly, and what you get is you get that product, that tool, and that's it. Everything else, you're running. So that's a SaaS application. And you could go to salesforce.com, it's another SaaS application. Gmail, another SaaS application. So you just get that specific app. Internet banking, it's like a SaaS application. You get that app, and everything else you're managing. Infrastructure as a service is saying, actually, I want to take everything we do in our practice and move it into the cloud. So that all I need is an internet connection, whether I'm in the Qantas lounge, whether I'm on a laptop, whether my team are running in the office on their PCs, then if you've got an internet connection, your entire practice is in the cloud. So Reckon one, and this is the booming trend, guys. So this SaaS, so Xero, Reckon one, MYOB's new product, and SASU, a big Australian player, just doesn't seem to get as much media attention or marketing spend as some of us others. But this is the big growth area. But this is the tool today for your clients. This is the tool for businesses, SaaS accounting applications. And as with any new tool, just beware that they are new tools and they're evolving, and they can't do what an MYOB or QuickBooks did yesterday, not today. They will be able to very soon, but they're new. So that's why I keep linking it back to that choice. So there's change happening, but there is choice. Make sure you have a look at the right accounting application for your clients. And I just want to go back to big data because I forgot to say something. With big data, it's now about, if all of this data's in the cloud, who owns it? How do we utilize it? So big data trend actually came because the concept of big data is there's all of this data out there. How do we analyze it to give value either to us as a business or to our clients and the community? There's many examples of big data. The accounting profession, in my mind, has the more power to leverage big data as a trend than any other profession in the world. You think about it, if you're my tax accountant, you know my age, my income, my dependents, my health fund, you know my investments, you know a lot about me. And obviously, under the right confidentiality ways and rules, you know when I should be paying tax, when it's due. Under all those right laws, you've got a lot of data that you can leverage off us. For me as a business client, I mean. So when you're looking at your SaaS style products for your clients, just make sure you're thinking about that. One is, what does it mean for the client? Who owns the data? Two, what about you in practice that wants to leverage off these trends of big data? How do I do that with those technology? And there is ways, but just know which provider is providing which options. This is the infrastructure as a service. Now the first thing you might notice, if I click between, actually it's not as pretty. So that's one thing, because what we've done with the APS private cloud, as an example, and you can do this with other practice management systems, so as we've picked up APS practice management, tax, general ledger, super, corporate affairs, document management, all of the core systems that we run in APS to run an accounting practice, we've picked them up and put them in a hosted environment. So for a client to say, I just want to go to the cloud and I want to run APS, now all they do is they need an internet connection, log on, and they can log on and access everything via the cloud. But here's the big difference. Infrastructure as a service and an APS private cloud is not just about your APS products. So we'll also provide obviously all of your backups, all of your SQL license, all of your Microsoft Office licenses, all of your Microsoft Exchange licenses and email tools. So all of a sudden you have a whole practice in the cloud. And again, they are real screenshots because it's actually a desktop application running in the cloud because we've got infrastructure as a service. I just want to talk about then another option, or this is now where cloud technology is going, and I'll kind of finish in a second, is that cloud technology, the other option is hybrid. And I'll keep banging on about that word choice. So know what you're looking at with cloud. SaaS is a one-off tool, infrastructure as a service, take my whole practice in the cloud. Next is a hybrid. So this diagram tries to explain a hybrid model. What it should have is a cloud around this middle section. What this is it's a tool we've developed and acquired from a technology called Direct Sync, or Sync Direct. So over here is you, the practice. And here, if you're a Reckon APS client, that's your XPA General Ledger application. If you're a Reckon Elite client, it's your Elite General Ledger. Here's the cloud, and over here is your clients. And your clients might be running MYOB, QuickBooks, Reckon Accounts, Sybase, SAP, Oracle, Xero, SASU, etc. And what it does is in the middle, the hybrid tool says, we don't care where the data is, because via the cloud we can get connection. So if it's in the cloud, easy. We point to it, we connect to the data, and it means you could get your Xero data straight into the practice, into your integrated practice management solution. Where hybrid really opens up the realms of possibility is if your client is still running a desktop application, an in-house bespoke system, or something like MYOB or Phoenix, or something they don't want to change off, via the cloud, it connects to that data. And it schedules an update into your practice. So this concept of single ledger, I think you should think single process. I'm not going to put all of my clients on the one system, but if I had a process that said, I don't care what you are using, but I had one process in my public practice to get that data into us, then you're saving a massive amount of time and driving your efficiencies. So this is the third layer of cloud, which is hybrid, which is using cloud to access desktop applications and link them. And once it's linked once, all both ends need is an internet connection. Doesn't have to be live all the time, but if there's an internet connection when the scheduled update happens, it sends it and will come down into your practice. Where cloud, and then this is other technology, then goes, is mobile. And this is today. So Reckon One has the mobile interface. So all of a sudden, you're running your business. Yes, the application is SaaS, it's in the cloud, but it's also on my mobile device 24/7 wherever I go, and designed to be optimized in a mobile space. I think if there's one emerging technology, and it's not just in cloud, but emerging technology, watch mobile, because then where that goes, and again guys, Reckon's not the only ones to have these products. Obviously it's easier for us to screenshot our product in a Reckon session, but then where it's going is Reckon Pay. So all of a sudden you've got a tradie as a client. He says, well, I'm always out of the office. This is cool. I've got access to my accounting system. Actually, what do I do a lot of is I'm getting ad hoc bills, plumbers, electricians, builders, etc. So adding something to your mobile device, we're now using PayWave, back to my example, they can swipe your mobile, it's update your accounting system, which is linked to your accountant, linked to your bank, and if you want that access, linked into your government. So I did go very, very high level to talk about change. And as I'll just repeat my 3 words from the start. There is a lot of change that is happening in the world and in technology, but you still have choice. And make sure with that choice, you look at what those options are in terms of technology, and then always look at the source. And the source, I think, is connection. And I forget the gentleman's name who presented last of all yesterday and got us all up dancing. Luigi. But the thing about Luigi, and I know in between laughing, I was actually listening to his content, and he said the same thing, actually. He said it in different words. But actually, how often do you take a health check on yourself, your business, your clients? And that's what it's all about. It's all about connection. So whilst we've got this technology boom and whilst we've got these changes happening, we can't lose sight of what we're all actually trying to do, and that's connect better with our team, our clients, and our business partners.